We were in chemistry class, second period. It was raining hard that day. I remember watching the drops slide down the window instead of paying attention to Mr. Harper's lecture on covalent bonds. Then the fire alarm went off. No warning, just a shrill, high-pitched wail that made everyone jump. Mr. Harper looked confused. There wasn't a drill scheduled. But protocol was protocol. He told us to grab our stuff and line up. We joined the crowd of students shuffling into the hallway. Everyone looked half asleep, annoyed to be out in the rain. But as we reached the stairwell, something felt off. There was no admin in the halls. No security. The front office lights were off. No one directing anyone. Then came the screaming. From upstairs, a girl's voice. Then another. Panic, real panic. Teachers started yelling for students to get back inside their classrooms. Kids were pushing and stumbling as the alarm cut out completely. That silence was louder than the alarm. Mr. Harper dragged us back into the room, slammed the door shut and turned off the lights. We locked ourselves in, sat on the floor behind the lab tables. Nobody knew what was happening. Then a voice crackled through the intercom. It was shaky, unclear. Shelter in place. Not a drill. Lock all doors. Do not open for anyone. Someone asked, "Is this a shooter?" And no one answered. We stayed in silence for 10 minutes. Then came the banging. Someone was at our door, banging hard. Over and over. A voice. "Let me in, please. He's coming." It was a student's voice. Sounded like Tommy Kessler, a junior from the wrestling team. He was in our class earlier but left halfway through with a nurse's note. We all looked at Mr. Harper. He didn't move. The voice kept begging. "Please, he's right behind me." But Harper whispered, "That doesn't make sense. If someone's behind him, why would he bring them here?" That sentence froze the entire room. Then total silence. No more banging, no more voice. Just silence. I don't know how much time passed, but eventually the intercom buzzed again. This time, it was the principal. "All clear. Suspect is in custody. Please remain in your classrooms until further instruction." That was it. Later, we found out what happened. A student, Eli Rowe, senior, quiet kid. No one really knew him. He pulled the fire alarm as a distraction. Planned it for weeks. Had fake passes and everything. Hid a weapon in one of the janitor's closets. He didn't shoot anyone. But he had a list. A kill list. Written out in a notebook they found in his locker. Tommy's name was on it, so was mine. It was fifth period English class. A Tuesday. The kind of boring day where you're just counting down minutes until the bell. Mrs. Lind was talking about symbolism in The Great Gatsby, again. Half the class was zoned out. I was scrolling through old photos on my phone under my desk. That's when it started. A voice on the intercom. "Teachers, we are initiating a level 1 lockdown. This is not a drill." Mrs. Lind stopped mid-sentence. No one reacted at first. We'd had drills before. Even real lockdowns when fights broke out. But this time, she looked scared. She locked the door, turned off the lights, and told us all to move to the reading corner behind the bookshelves. That's when I noticed something weird. One of the backpacks by the door, an old Navy JanSport, wasn't anyone's in the class. I glanced around, whispering, "Hey, whose bag is that?" No one answered. Then Emma, who sat by the door, said, "It wasn't there earlier." Mrs. Lind noticed too. Her face turned pale. She walked up to it slowly like it might explode. Didn't touch it. Just stared. And then, she pulled her phone out and texted someone. Seconds later, we heard footsteps. Multiple, running down the hall. Then, nothing. Silence. No intercom update. No explanation. Just the faint hum of the AC and the sound of someone breathing too loud. Then we heard it. A single knock. At the door. No one moved. The knock came again. Then a voice, male, calm. "I left my bag. Can I come in?" Mrs. Lind stood up slowly. Moved toward the window in the door. Looked out, froze. We all waited for her to say something, anything. Finally, she whispered, "I don't recognize him." The guy knocked again. Louder this time. "Miss, can you open the door?" And then he tried the handle. It was locked. Thank God. But he didn't walk away. He just stood there, quiet. Then, he placed something flat on the glass. It was an ID, but it wasn't a student ID. It was a staff badge. But the name and photo were smeared, like it had been rubbed with water. He stayed there for almost 5 minutes, just staring in through the little window. Then we heard footsteps again. Multiple pairs. Running. Someone yelled, "Get down! Step away from the door." We ducked. I heard shouting, a thud, then silence again. We stayed like that for half an hour until a police officer opened the door and told us to evacuate. As we walked past the door, I saw the backpack again, still untouched. A second officer knelt down next to it, carefully opened it. Inside, nothing. Just shredded paper and a phone recording. We never got an official explanation, but the rumors spread fast. The man wasn't a teacher. And that ID? It belonged to a staff member who had gone missing the year before. They said our substitute teacher was just running late, but the man who walked into our class wasn't a teacher. It was third period history with Mr. Langston. Only, Mr. Langston wasn't there that day. We had a sub, or we were supposed to. 15 minutes passed. No one showed up. No announcements. No one cared, we were just goofing off. Then the door opened. A man walked in. Mid-40s, glasses, dressed like he worked here, button-down shirt. Khakis, visitor pass around his neck. Only I didn't recognize him. Neither did anyone else. Still, he walked up to the whiteboard like he belonged. Wrote his name, Mr. K. No last name, just that. He never introduced himself. Never asked us to settle down. He just stood there facing the board for a full minute. Silent. We laughed. Thought maybe he was just awkward. Then he turned around and locked the door. We all went quiet. He pulled down the blinds, turned off the lights, then said, "There's been a threat reported. This is a soft lockdown." No one questioned it. Phones were out. Some of us texted friends in other classes to ask if they were on lockdown too. No one was. That's when Ryan, class clown, always loud, raised his hand and said, "Hey man, are you even a teacher?" The man stared at him, smiled, didn't answer. And then he walked over to the teacher's desk, pulled out a roll of duct tape. My heart dropped. Ryan laughed nervously. "Yo, what's that for?" The man whispered. "You'll see." That's when Taylor, smartest girl in the room, quietly texted someone in the office. Then I saw her hand trembling. She leaned toward me and whispered, "They don't know who he is." I felt frozen. My mouth went dry. The man began walking down the aisle between desks slowly, looking at each of us. He stopped at Ryan's desk, looked down at him, then calmly said, "Do you think you're funny?" Ryan didn't answer. The man raised his hand and slammed it down on the desk. Hard. Everyone jumped. One girl screamed. Then we heard it. The announcement chime. The intercom crackled to life. "Attention all staff. Please disregard the previous message. We are initiating a real lockdown. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Everyone lost it. The guy didn't move. Just stood there, calm, like he was waiting for something. Then the fire alarm went off. He panicked. He ran to the window, yanked it open, and jumped. We all rushed forward to look. He landed hard but got up limping. He ran across the field and into the woods behind the school. Within minutes, cops swarmed the place. The school went into full lockdown. Every room checked. Students evacuated in buses. We found out later, the man wasn't a sub, wasn't even a parent. He was a former janitor fired 2 years ago after being caught stalking a female teacher. He'd slipped in through a delivery entrance, picked a random classroom, our classroom, and he'd been carrying a knife, not a gun. Still, if the alarm hadn't gone off, I don't even want to think about it.